Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. We're very excited to see everyone here for our third in our series, our summer series. And it's wonderful when we can all gather together again. As we begin every program here at the Silverside, we begin with a pledge of allegiance. So if you are capable, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. USS Silverside Summit is very proud to be able to bring the series of lectures to our family. It is a wonderful time for everyone to get an opportunity to explore new topics and to learn a little bit of something different during the normal course of the day. We are excited that this summer we've changed our series up a little bit and we are doing topics that are of interest to veterans. And our mission at the Silverside is always to honor the veterans. And we do that through education and through preservation. And whenever possible, we really want to do that. We preserve history. Everyone sees our vessels that are in the channel, and we know that our vessels are very well preserved, as well as the thousands of artifacts that are located in our museum. And we bring those artifacts out for people to understand and have a different view of what is going on and have a different perspective. Yesterday, we had a day called Jumping to Wireless, and we had a children's author speak. And he brought out a number of different artifacts from personal homes. And he was talking about, okay, this is what you got for dinner. This is what you got for dinner. It's the same thing. It came again. And this is what you got for breakfast. Or, this is how you carry your water. This is what you do for breakfast. And those are the kind of things. Not about stories that they may have heard or they may never heard. So it is our honor to preserve those types of artifacts for future generations. We also like to explore history firsthand by allowing people to walk, and veterans have walked, through some of the interesting facts and let them think about what it was like to be very hard on and to educate. And we do that through our series of lectures that we have during both the fall and the summer, and do that. And the USS Silverside Summer Museum is a nonprofit. We do not receive any state federal funding. It is all done through donations, sales to our institutions, as well as our church. And we're very appreciative of the community we have. Take such good care of us. We also support technology. Yesterday, we also have STEM class where I have children to stay the paratroopers active peer pressure, what it takes to change that a paratrooper has. Our summer series has been going full force and we're so excited. Next week, we have Brent Mallett, he will be here to speak. He has written of his time when he served. And he tries to tell a true story of what they experienced in fiction and fiction. He is a wonderful speaker. His book is for sale in the bookstore if you're interested in reading it, but it looks like it's going to be another wonderful. Today, we are going to have our veteran service organization. Mike is a wonderful person. He has a long, very military career, and now is the director of the People Training Veterans. He is responsible for assisting so many veterans, of course, on a daily basis on whatever they need to be, and primarily helping people out with each other so that they can get the information that they need and provide it one-on-one. So we are very proud to have Mike over to Mike. Please, everyone, welcome Mike, and I'm looking forward to it.
Mike Baauw said, maybe 4 years. Now it's representing this town. Fortunately, it's not just me. There's other ranges there. We all do what we do, we all do different things. Definitely our staff.
Like the district doing that?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to go to the beginning. There you go.
Okay, so we get a little idea of what the benefits are that veterans have or their widows have, how they can get those benefits, how they can apply for the benefits. But I would like to start out with differences between the different veterans care departments. People who know the federally the largest spend outside the military is responsible for health care. They're responsible for we have one right here in the student, we have one in Wyoming, Michigan, and Baauw Creek is close to parent for that. They're responsible for burials and memorials, and so forth. And then compensation and benefits, insurance, social rehab, education and training. So not everyone knows that they're eligible for these benefits. That's what our team of people do. We help the veterans or their widows apply for these things. Some of the headstones, markers, medallions, if a veteran and the widow of that veteran were served during a period of war for one whole day, they're eligible to receive a free headstone or marker from the VA, for an example. And they can be buried in the National Cemetery, the spouse as well as the veteran. But if you think about it as a whole, that will be a big money stuff: education, training, compensation, the VA home loans, and all that. State, not as big of money, but they're responsible for these things here. But the primary is going to be the Grand Rapids Home for Veterans, for example. And they, of course, also help to apply for benefits. Usually with their method of help is to direct them to the county Veterans Affairs offices so we can do the work. But they're also responsible for the Michigan Veterans Trust Fund, which is a $50 million pot of money that's set aside to gain interest, and they use that interest to assist veterans who are have an emergency, so a house repair, roof repair, that kind of stuff. And so the state of Michigan has a couple of laws that require us to do our jobs in the state of Michigan and the county. So a Veterans Relief Fund, through whether it be through the general fund or a millage, every single county in the state of Michigan must provide veterans relief to a war era veteran. So we'll discuss how we help the peace era veterans also. But for the law, we have to help use that money for Veterans Relief Fund. We have to assist with funeral expenses. So back in 1918, when this law was created, the average funeral expense complete was $300. We've never changed that law, so we contribute $300 to a war era veteran or a war era veteran spouse as they pass away, to assist with the funeral costs. Now, one would say, why don't we go to $6,000, which is the new average cost? Well, we average about 100 or so applications per year. So we would need to have $600,000 from our taxpayers to be able to support that. And I don't see that really getting voted in. And we help them apply for the Veterans Trust Fund. We make sure we have the graves and so forth. And these are the things, the required are the only 3 things that we must do, we shall do. And then everything else is optional. So our county did create a Department of Veterans Affairs, and we do assist with the trust fund. And we did that through, well, this is Public Act 214 that talks about the indigent and emergent needs that we have to provide funds for. And if anyone has any questions as we're going through, I'm going too fast, please go ahead and ask. This is the public act that tells you that we have to pay $300. And this one tells us about how we can help get the graves. So these are the musts. Veterans Trust Fund, we're not required to do it, but we can help the veteran go ahead and apply for that emergent need. So again, if you think dollars, for a veteran that has an emergent need that's going to apply to our county for our soldiers and sailors relief, we can do that, but you think small money, right? So you're talking $500 or less per instance. But the state of Michigan can go to $3,500 without going through their board, and they can go well beyond that. So we just helped the lady, not too long, last week, I think, get the state of Michigan pay for her new well, which is a $7,000 bill. So,
Mike, can I ask you to define what war era veterans are
okay.
and what it applies to our more younger veterans?
Okay. So a war era veteran is a veteran who served during a period of war for at least one day. So to keep it kind of close to where we're at now, if you served in between Vietnam, so May 5 of 1975, and you served on that day all the way through August 1 of 1990, you are a peace era veteran. So all these cool benefits that the federal government and the state government says we have to provide don't apply to the peace era veteran. They only apply to the war era. And there's a small window in between Korea and Vietnam as well, and a small window between World War II and Korea. But we have been at war now since 1990. The government has not ceased that declaration, so everybody that's serving today is serving during a period of war. So Public Act 192 says that we can form a county Department of Veterans Affairs, and if we do so, we can manage that money that we have to provide through Public Act 214, which is what we were there. Yeah, we can manage that money ourselves with some oversight from a Veterans Advisory Committee locally. Not every county does all this stuff. I will use Ottawa County as an example. Ottawa County, we see probably 25% of the people we help, not with claims, not with money, are from Ottawa County because we operate as a volunteer. They don't have a budget. They have a $50,000 budget maybe to do the things they must do, but they don't want to create the department. They don't want to fund the Soldiers and Sailors Relief really. They believe that that's not an entitlement. They think that it's it's not a good thing to do. So, or charity. So some statistics of how we do and what we do. We have about 12,125 veterans in our county alone. Ottawa County's got 14,000 plus. I think there's 6,000 or 7,000 in Oceana. Kent County's obviously more. And there's 70 to 90 homeless veterans based on the national statistics, based on what we have for a population. And there's the unemployment rate of 5.4. I think that's probably more right now due to the COVID crisis. And so we have about 655 potential unemployed veterans in Muskegon County. I'm sure that will change here shortly. The veterans that commit suicide, it's a national statistic, 22 a day. And we had 16 county veterans commit suicide in that window. But I can tell you that in 2020, when COVID hit, there were, I sit on the suicide review committee for the county. We had 7 that committed suicide, and of those, I think that made up like 33%. So think about the population, we make up about, I think, 12% of the population. We shouldn't be at a 33% rate. And there's only about 10%. This is from the state of Michigan. There's only about 10% of veterans and widows in the state of Michigan who are actually receiving their comp pension benefits. They don't all know that they're eligible for them. I talked to a guy today who was in my office before I came here. I asked him if he ever applied. He says, well, I wasn't injured in the service. Well, that might be true. But it's up to us to go ahead and try to tie that condition to their time in service. An example of that would be if a lifetime smoker, was a boiler technician on a ship in 1950, and ended up getting mesothelioma and passing away from that, or what have you. Even though he was a lifetime smoker, and he might have been a boiler technician at another place exposed to asbestos, the very first exposure was in the Navy, and we can go ahead and tie that benefit to the person and get them financial compensation in healthcare. That is statewide. That's the information we received from the state when we put this together. Okay, so now we talk about funding because everyone has to know how we are funded. We get about $330,000 a year through a millage. It passed again in 2019 with an 85% approval rate. That tells me, and it tells our county administrator, that the people in Muskegon County trust that we're doing the right thing with the money they're providing us. And what that translates to is like $3.59 a year if your home is valued at $100,000. So for $3.59 a year, you can help us get the money we need to help the veterans with the benefits they deserve. We also have we applied for the County Veteran Service Fund grant. That's an annual grant that comes out. When we wrote this is what we received, $67,000 for this year. Next year, we've already been told we're being awarded $107,000. So $147,000. So we will spend that in the way that the grant allows us to spend it. In an effort to, we're going to spend a lot of that money next year in an effort to increase awareness that we're here. We're going to have a billboard campaign, see if we can get more veterans into our facility and their widows to apply for benefits. We run another program that helps offset some wages through DTE. We received some grants from how Matt helps and so forth this year. We're constantly applying for grants if we can get them, but we use that money, the service fund grant money, we put it in there in the grant that we're going to use a portion of that to help the peace era veterans. We use the money that we received from a Howmet and a health club to assist peace era veterans. And we do the same thing with our donations that we receive, whether it be from a corporation or whether it be from an individual. And we go ahead and use that money to fill our food bank with food, but also to provide emergency relief for the peace era veterans if they need it. Electric bill, gas bill, rent. That's our way of getting around the federal law by not using our millage money to do that. So we actually have 3 people now that are employed by the county. Myself, Dee Hatcher, who's in the back there, and Amy Hills, who we just hired with the county grant money. So we have 3 people that work for us, but we actually have a lot of people that work in our building, and we do this we pay for the rent of the building, but we give the free space to them, and then those organizations pay their people. So we have 2 VFW and DAV service officers, so the VFW pay for them, or the DAV. That includes, that's in addition to myself being an accredited service officer, as well as Dee Hatcher, who is an accredited service officer. What do the service officers do? They will help you apply for those benefits, the health care, they'll ask the right questions to see if they can get you to think that there's some things that you might be having that are related to your time and service. And they'll help you apply for those, and they'll advocate for you, whether it be in Detroit or whether it be in DC if you're on the field. We have a Volunteers of America employee who works here that helps unemployed veterans with developing resumes and employment workshops and job placement. He helped get 40 veterans secure employment in the last 12 months, which is pretty good. This is a little outdated, so I think we just talked about it a second ago. The veterans have reduced in population by 7.6%, and as of fiscal year 20, we just got the report last week. As for fiscal year 20, we've had a 32% increase in VA spend. So the VA, the federal VA spends money by sending compensation and pension money to those veterans who have put in the applications. So one would think that if you had 7.6% of the population reduced, you would have a 7.6% of the spend reduced. But we had a 32% increase in spend. That's because our service officers are working hard for the veterans and for the widows. One of those widows, a good success story with this one, is we had a lady who lives up in the Whitehall, Montague area, who had applied for compensation because her husband at the time passed away from an illness that she thought was associated with his time in Vietnam. At that time, the illness was not, that condition was not considered as a presumptive with Agent Orange in Vietnam. Well, Annette, our service officer, went and helped her reapply. They awarded her compensation because now the presumptive, I think it might have been diabetes, is a presumptive, and which means that the VA says if you were in Vietnam for a day and you have this illness, presumed that you got it because you were in Vietnam. So that lady was awarded $192,000 on her first payment. And then after that, she gets $1,300 and some odd dollars a month. All that's tax-free. So we're not just helping the veteran, we're also helping the widows of the veterans. We have 3 housing counselors employed by the Veterans Affairs or the VOA that go ahead and assist homeless vets in getting housed or assist veterans who are at risk of becoming homeless stay housed. So they all have money for that, programs for that, which is good. We have 2 Veterans Affairs employees, a social worker and a psychologist. Yes, the Veterans Affairs Federal has a building down by the airport. However, not all of our clients will be able to make it there. Some of them they're indigent. They live in the city of Muskegon. The city of Muskegon Heights. It's not easy for them to get to the airport to go to the meeting. So we provide them safe space in our office. You ask where we are, right downtown Muskegon by the Hall of Justice. So,
May I have another question from a
Yes.
Zoom participant? They would like to know, at some point during the presentation, will you put your contact information up so that they can contact you?
yes, it should be at the very end of this.
Okay, thank you.
So we also have volunteers. This is a unique thing. The federal VA at the clinic does offer PTSD counseling for the veteran, not the spouse, not the mom, not the brother, not the kids. So we have a Vietnam veteran who received 2 Purple Hearts for his time in service when he was in Vietnam, and his wife has been living with him with secondary PTSD ever since he came back. So they put on this twice a month, this group session. It's more for the spouse or the family member than it is for the veteran himself or herself. We have peer-to-peer meetings that we allow people to use in our conference rooms because they just don't like the VA's group meetings. They want to have a smaller group. So we allow them space to do that. And we have WINC, Women Injured in Combat. This is for females who have experienced sexual trauma while in the service. It is a very important group that we allow to have in there. We give them a safe space to do what they do. They help a lot of people with it. And to give you an idea of what that might translate to, what that might mean, you think that maybe 35% or 30% of the military population is female, the rest is male. And you go to Iraq or Afghanistan, and you're in this base where it's safe. Everything's, you have these wire around you, you're in a safe zone. And then you go out for the day and you go to your out in the city and you do your thing, and you're always looking over your back to make sure you don't get shot at or don't get hurt or injured. But when you get back to that safe space, all your weapons get put away. And now there's 30% female, 70% male. And you go to the bathroom at the wrong time, you go to the shower at the wrong time, you go jogging around the place at the wrong time, there are assaults. So they're never safe in that condition. Or never feel like it's safe. We Muskegon County offers the Veterans Treatment Program. So that is for a high-risk, high-need offender who's in trouble with the law. The prosecutor has agreed to bring them into the court system. And it ends up being about an 18-month probation period, heavy probation, but it's a substance abuse treatment court as well. So there's a team of people who are the oversight. Myself, I'm one of the original founding members, and we have a team of volunteer mentors. So we put that combat veteran who's in trouble with the law, we assign that person to a veteran who is also a combat veteran, who can talk to the one who's in trouble with the law, can talk to him like a person, like a veteran, like a normal person would, not like the judge can, because the judge has to talk nice and the prosecutor needs to talk nice, but they can keep it down to earth. So the first 8 that we took in 2013, all 8 attempted suicide the year before. One of them attempted it twice, but he was so drunk he couldn't reload the shotgun. By the time the police got there, he had lost everything. He lost his wife. He lost the rights to his daughter because he just committed a felony in the home. So he couldn't do anything with her at the schools. He lost his weapons. He lost everything. His life was down. And when he was on active duty in the service, he was the U.S. Army's Soldier of the Year. After his 5th tour in Iraq, the Army said, "We don't want you anymore." So he self-medicated, and that ended up to that. So he is now our largest advocate as a veteran mentor. He's come back to give back, and he is now doing, he does, if a veteran calls us and said they need something, he's the first one to jump in and get back. His life is back, his daughter's back. And at the end of the day, at the end of your court, if you do what you're supposed to do, the county prosecutor can go ahead and reduce or eliminate those charges. So he walked into court with a felony that he had to, that he had a felony charge. He walked out with no charge. So it's a great thing. It's designed to go ahead and give that holistic approach to help the veterans who are in need get their lives back together. And we help them in our office with all of our different services. And then the federal VA helps them through the, whether it be substance abuse or whether it be PTSD counseling, whatever it's going to be. And almost everyone that we get through, we end up getting their financial benefits too. So it's a pretty good program. So we also participate in the Suicide Prevention Coalition, Homeless Community Care. We are on all these different committees. The reason we're on the Suicide Review Committee, the only reason we're on that, is so that if there is a veteran identified as a suicide, we can go ahead and do the research and see if that veteran left a spouse. And if that veteran left a spouse, and we find out that the veteran was a combat veteran, we can tie that to PTSD, and we can get that surviving spouse their benefits. So we recently did that last quarter. Of those 7 that were in 2020, we found a 74-year-old veteran from Montague, Whitehall area who did the suicide, left behind his widow, and his obituary, it actually stated he received the Bronze Star twice for valor in his action during Vietnam. Annette has tied that to his time in service, and the widow was now in receipt of her $1,300 a month. That's tax exempt. And she gets Champ VA health care if she wants it. So it's like a secondary insurance. We help. Muskegon County does have a veterans hiring preference. We were instrumental in doing it. And actually, Holly Hughes is here with us, and she helped when she was a legislator get a law passed that went ahead and allowed, it actually requires that the state of Michigan, any colleges in the state of Michigan receiving funding from the state of Michigan, have to go ahead and accept the credit hours that a veteran has from their time in service. Sorry? Oh, yeah, for example, if you had that 120 hours, and so those credit hours might be, they went to boot camp, so there's your physical fitness class. The person was an electronics technician, so they went to electronics school, they did math. That's going to be in there. If the person made it to a certain degree and they are getting the leadership school or management schools, that would think they get credits for those as well.
Mike, I'm sorry, I have another Zoom
Yeah.
question, and I can hold these off to the end
No,
if you'd
you're
rather.
fine.
They want to know, is there something that they tell the admissions office when they go in, or is there some, like a phrase that says, I'm eligible for?
Yes, there is I know that at Baker and NCC both, for example, they have a veteran advocate, so does Grand Valley. So a veterans counselor, who typically is a veteran, but is also helping that veteran get their benefits through college, so.
So veterans advocate at the school.
Yes, and they can actually go online, if they Google joint service transcript, they can Google that, they can log in, anybody can go in there and you establish your account, and then they go print out their transcripts. We do a lot of speaking like this, both myself and Dean too. We've gotten Amy to start doing that as well. And of course, we're active in a lot of different things. The reason we're active in all these different organizations is so that we can try to be available to as many people as we can to spread the word that we're here and what we're doing and why we're doing it. Not on here yet, I think. Okay, Veterans Park. Everyone sees the Veterans Park up in North Muskegon and between the Causeway and City of Muskegon, North Muskegon. Part of our millage pays for that. We talked about the food bank that's available. We also don't restrict that from active duty. So when the federal government had to shut down a couple years ago, and we reached out to the Coast Guard station and said, hey, we got some junior sailors and they need help, come to our office. And we do fundraisers for the park. It doesn't generate a lot of money, but it helps us maintain the park without increasing any millage costs. By the way, that millage, that's the 13th of a mill, has been the same exact millage it's been since it started. So back in 1990 was the first millage. So we're operating on the same dollar amount we did back then. With the help of Holly again and other agencies, other groups, we hosted the job fairs in Muskegon County for veterans. What we've done with that, though, especially the last 2 years with the COVID crisis, we have worked with our employers. We have all their email addresses for all the HR people that have attended any of our job fairs. And every single time a veteran or a family member of a veteran comes in with a resume looking for work, we send that resume out to that 180 some odd employers. Last week, one guy reached out, sent us a resume. 2 days later, he had 2 offers. So both in manufacturing. Okay. Legislation, we have worked with our legislators at resolving veterans issues. Holly was the legislator that we worked with. The current legislators, they're not doing a whole lot with that could be disputed. They're not don't have the veterans issues on the plate at the moment. We do help with getting congressional inquiries, so it's very difficult. It's time consuming if the veteran wants to go ahead and receive their military service records. Maybe they want to have a batch of their awards they received originally, but they lost them. We can apply for those. We do that through our congressman's office, Congressman Heisenberg's office. And Trustee Romanos, who works there, is a big supporter of us, and she gets these things done relatively quickly. So instead of the citizen going up the chain to the National Personnel Records Center, we have the congressman going down the chain and telling them to get the job done. And on a typical year, non-COVID year, the National Personnel Records Center has 30 days to respond to that congressman with the result. And if it's me doing it on my own, with my own application, it might be 90, it might be more, who knows. But the longer it takes to get the documentation, the longer it takes for us to be able to submit a claim to help that veteran. I'm not gonna go too deep into this, because it's probably stuff and I'll probably screw it up. And this is all, again, this is all how we start here. Bring back that words. So this talks about how we are formed, and talks about, again, a summary of basically what we talked about, how we have all the people that are working in our office. But very fiscally responsible, we're only employing 3 people. Actually, only 2 people are employed through the millage. That's myself and Dee. Everybody else is employed by some other organization. If we employ all 12 people that are in our organization at any given time, you know, you're looking at a $900,000 weight in wages. But again, the county's operating $330,000 a year millage. So we're very fiscally responsible. Our biggest struggle is the outreach, getting the word out to the veteran, getting the word out to the widow that they are eligible to apply for things. They might be eligible. You have the veteran who says they weren't injured in the service, but now they have bad knees and they have a bad back. Maybe that veteran was a person who jumped out of planes in a parachute, like Jumping Joe. But they didn't get injured while they were in service, you know, and all us veterans are a little bit too proud, right? There's nothing wrong with me, I'm perfectly healthy. But almost everybody that we can get in will see some kind of benefit. And maybe they have a hearing loss, maybe they have ringing in their ears, maybe they have diabetes, maybe they have something. And if there's a way for us to tie it to their time in service, to do it, and that turns into financial compensation, which is good. A veteran who is 10% rated disabled by the VA might receive like $140 a month. And it just goes up and up from there. A person that is 100% will end up with about $3,300 a month, tax exempt. And if they are 100% and the VA says they're totally permanent, or they are unemployable for whatever reason, now they get their property tax exempt on their main home. And if that veteran who is that total and permanent does pass away, that same, not the financial benefit, but the same tax exemption benefit applies to the widow. The widow will get the $1,300 a month. That's all I have for that. So no, I don't have my contact info. So with that, I would say that our contact info is the front office is 231-724-7143. My direct line is 231-724-6121. But you can call that front desk number and get anybody that you want to talk to, and they'll get you the right people. Any questions?
I have a question
Yes, sir.
that's not really relevant, but were the World War II records ever retrieved after the huge fire they had in the records office?
You know,
Oh.
that 1973 fire,
Yeah.
yes.
I worked there.
Oh,
I understand that all the records they had, that they could save, they literally laid them out to dry. And once they could save, they put it in the new building where, which is now north of there. So, what was the question? And some of the records they say that they were able to save, but some they couldn't.
So the answer is they had never been fully recovered. Is that correct?
Correct.
the ones that they did not save though. So if a veteran, let's just use genealogy as the topic. Somebody wants to find out what their grandfather did or their great grandfather did. We can still reach out to that branch of service into their Human Services Command, Human Resources Command, and at least get some information on that veteran. They did serve from this time to this time, they did serve in this unit or this command, they did do this. So verification of service, which, you know, is is important if you want to join that VFW as a descendant of that American Legion. You have that, and they can still get you that, but they'll the service records themselves, if they were birthed,
At the museum, we get a lot of questions on people that want to get the DD 214s. What is the best way for them to go about getting a copy of their DD 214s?
if a service member was discharged somewhere in the 2020s, now 2000s, they can contact our office. We should be able to access them through a system called the Defense Personnel Record Information System. I'm the only one that has access to that in our office, so they'd have to call me directly. If they were discharged earlier than that, they can call the state of Michigan at 1-800-MICH-VET, and they may have the records. If not, then the next thing to do is to send that application to our congressman to get that record pulled. That's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah. It is. Again, it's pushing down instead of pushing up. Yeah. That's why we use Congressman Heisenberg. Minus the COVID year put a crimp on that because of, no one's looking in the office at the record center, but on a normal year, we see those records in about 30 days or less. Any other questions? Does anyone here know a veteran or a widow of a veteran at all? And if you do, please pass along those brochures that Angel passed along to you and share those with them, because the more that we can reach in Muskegon County, the more we can help. So, if there's no other questions, that's what I have. Yes.
When you have like fundraising or something for the Veterans Memorial Park, how do we hear about what's going on?
So the only fundraising that we do for the park itself is if the veteran or a family member wants to buy a memorial marker or plaque for the sidewalk, they can contact our office, they can order it. It costs us $135 to get one made. We charge $180 to do it. And that money goes into a pot, it's a dedicated pot of money that never could use for anything else but that park. So if there's park improvements, that's what we're doing. Or if a service member is sent overseas for a year, as a, to a combat zone of some sort, the family member can reach out to us and purchase a banner that will display on the banners of those light posts on the park causeway. That's the only fundraiser that we do for that park. As a county department, we really can't go out and host a fundraiser, but we can sell a product that can be used. We can't even go out and solicit donations for our food bank, because again, we're a county department and it's not something we're supposed to do. But we don't have to solicit, the stuff comes to us. It just comes, and it's good because it allows us to do what we need to do. One of the things that I didn't say, I'm going to put a shout out to My Auto Import. A year and a half ago, they ended up donating to us a minivan that we could use to support bringing veterans to and from medical appointments or grocery stores. So you may see me driving around town. It's all camouflage green with our little logos on it. My auto did that, and they gave it to us. It's high mileage vehicle, but it runs great, and we run it on volunteer drivers. So we have veterans who volunteer to drive 1 day a week, 1 day a month, whatever it's going to be, and whether it be for a one-time trip or whether it be for 5 people on the same day, they're taking care of it. So it's been a very good add-on. The driving force behind that was that the Muskegon Area Transit canceled the stop at the VA clinic as a bus route. So when they canceled that, My Auto reached out and said, "How are you getting people to the clinic?" And that's how it ended up being. But we have guys, we have people who used to be, they used to do their grocery shopping at the local party store. You know, now they can go to Myers on a weekly basis and get what they need to have and not eat the frozen food and junk food, and we're doing better. Okay.
No, we just have one more question that just popped up. It is, if someone wishes to do something for the veterans community in Muskegon, where would be the best place for them to do that?
This depends on what they want to do.
We'll see if they send us another thing
But
back.
if they want to reach out to our office, we'd be happy to talk to them about what can be done.
Okay,
Or what we can help them do it. We just can't solicit it, but we can definitely help.
and their phone number again is?
231-724-7143.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Mike for speaking today on this very important topic. And I think one of the things that we have to do is reach out to all of our neighbors in the community, because so many people do not know of all these wonderful services that exist in our communities to help our veterans. And that would be a wonderful thing to speak out to them and let them know that this exists and pass on that information. I know we have plenty of cards that Angel is walking around with. Take a few extra, pass them out to your friends, and see if there's something that can make their lives a tad bit easier. We're very excited that you are here today, and we hope to see all of you and even more next week, or those that zoomed in with us. And next week, we will be having an author speaking about, through fiction, his time in the military and writing through comedy and silliness to discuss the difficulties that he faced and relaying them to other people in a way that the regular community will understand. And so we're looking very much forward to having him here as well. And if you're interested in his book, Pillar Was Here, it is available in the gift shop.
Maybe,
Yes,
as I please to know that this looks like a very small crowd, but we're here physically, but there are many, many, many people watching it online.
yes, there are people that are watching from online, and then we also put these videos on YouTube and our Facebook. And so the reach is much larger than just in our community. But I look at this room and I say, I am so excited that we have humans back in our theater again. And I cannot wait. Yesterday, this room was full and it was wonderful. And I'm so excited that we are all able to get back together again, and we can ask these questions, whether it be on Zoom or in person, but we're excited about that. So thank you very much, Mike. We appreciate everyone's time.
Yeah, we got looked into this.